Hello, my name is Astucia, and I need you to listen to what I have to say about the true origins of lemurs and what the French government doesn't want you to know. The baguette munchers would have you believe that lemurs are native to Madagascar and that the islands didn't have any trade cities like the Swahili coast, which doesn't really make sense if you think about it because on the mainland you had all these prosperous trade cities along the coast, and yet there's this island that's still in the same general vicinity to the trade routes to India, Indonesia, and Mesopotamia, but yet somehow remained underdeveloped. I don't buy it. The true origins of the lemur actually uh, is from France in the late 1700s, around the time of the French Revolution. In fact, it was a spark for the French Revolution with um, the class oppression, the peasantry getting taxed, not being represented, France being in debt, and in fact, when they stormed the Bastille, they actually found a couple of lemurs and how they were made. They had found a bunch of documents and uh, journals depicting parties that the aristocracy would have where they would make owls, raccoons, and very large squirrels uh, have mating orgies, and eventually this resulted in lemurs being created. Now, after Napoleon came into power, he discovered that during the Reign of Terror and the War of the First Coalition that some of the lemurs had escaped and made it to other European countries, uh, which wasn't a good look for France. So, in order to cover it up, he had to invade other countries. In fact, when the French army captured Moscow in 1812, they found a few lemurs in the city and tried to capture them. During the capture process, the city kind of got accidentally set on fire and then turned into a crisp. This wasn't intentional. Napoleon did attempt a world conquest after he managed to capture all the lemurs, but this failed, so he ended up, dying on St. Helena. After Napoleon, the French were able to keep the lemurs hidden in secrecy in Paris for a long time. The only one incident where lemurs got out was in 1861. They were smuggled to Mexico, which is the reason why France invaded Mexico. And because the Mexicans were preoccupied fighting the French, they weren't able to capitalize on the American Civil War and take back Texas and California and the rest of the Mexican cession from the United States. However, Mexico has a plan B, because if Mexico can't have Texas, then Texas will have Mexico. Aside from that one incident, the keeping of the lemurs was pretty secure and safe until Prussia invaded and united Germany. The French realized that they couldn't keep the lemurs in Europe anymore. Luckily for the French, the Berlin Convention happened shortly after the Franco-Prussian War, which gave them claims, or legal claims, or whatever you want to call it, to West Africa and Madagascar. Now, the French couldn't just dump the lemurs in West Africa because there was too many records, and other European powers already knew about what type of animals could be found there. So, the French decided to go with Madagascar. So, after some preparation in 1883, the French invaded Madagascar, and then after moving the lemurs to Madagascar, they then moved people from West Africa to Madagascar and told them that the lemurs had already been there. And over time, the people grew to accept that myth. They told the natives to not tell their children where they originally came from, West Africa. So eventually the myth grew that lemurs had already been there. And then after zoos became more popular, the myth, spread like wildfire everywhere to the point where it kind of sort of doesn't really matter anymore. Plus, lemurs are kind of cute. Except for this one. This one looks like a fucking crackhead. And so, That's the truth behind the true origins of the lemurs. If anyone asks you, no te dije nada, yo no hablo inglés, que tengas un buen día, please like and subscribe.